You ever heard someone say, be your most beautiful, authentic self, and standing on outside of that and trying to figure out what is that? What does that even look like, smell like? What does that appear to myself and to others? Well, I'm going to tell you what it is, because I want you to step into your beautiful, authentic self. But listen, I'm going to just precaution you that when you go down this journey, it is not a beautiful journey at all. Like, people make this transformational, healing, self-love type of thing the most beautiful thing. It has butterflies and dainty little bows, and it even has confetti. But I'm gonna tell you something, that thing is real ugly. It's ugly. Okay, you ready? Listen. I did not embark on this journey with the intentions of saying, I'm going to do this now. At this moment in time, this is going to happen and I'm going to see something different. No, that's not what happened. What happened was a series of events that spawned into each other and made me look at myself in several different ways, from several different perspectives, and with an eye that was wide open. There was a period in my life where I felt like everything was compounding on top of each other. It seemed as if I could not get a leg up. Every time I turned around, it was always a situation. And the way in which I've always handled situations, and I'll be honest, because listen, I am a vulnerable person. I would cry. Now I gave myself a 2-minute cry. I know it sounds crazy, but follow me for a minute. I would give myself a 2-minute cry. Like, I would cry this thing on out, right? And then I'd wipe my face and get myself together, and I'd walk out of that thing like nothing happened. Because the way in which I've learned to master and honor my feelings was an example of what I seen my mother do for so many years. So I knew that from her example, and just even by the way my mother raised me, you gotta get yourself together. You gotta be strong. Like, things will happen, but don't let it kick your butt. So that was the way in which I moved throughout the world until I realized that I couldn't hold it anymore. Like, I had a bucket of tears, but I was not allowing them to come out until everything became full, and it just came out at one time and I couldn't stop crying. That's the only way that I can compare it to. And in that moment, I realized I was broken in so many pieces, and I didn't have an answer. I took a moment to refrain and get back to myself. Now, the process of that was very hard, because when I started to really recognize again some of the things that were happening in my life and the way that I was residing in this and with no resolution, I realized that I had to make some changes. In the midst of that, I became angry. I became depressed. I cried a lot. And I became very irritated. So this is, the protocol. Now, I'm not saying that everybody has to do this. I'm just telling you what I did, because maybe something that I say resonates and allows you to do something similar. I honestly took a mirror. I looked in the mirror and I assessed myself from the outside in. Secondly, when digging within, as I was calling out the things that I was feeling and going through, I had to make it known, but I was also writing them down on my notebook. And I kept this notebook to myself because this was like the reflection in which I needed to see from myself. And so I wrote down every word, everything that I had felt, and every situation that I had been through where I knew that I had no resolution beyond it. And I was still residing in those feelings and in that space. Day by day, I took a word in a situation and I began to write on it. Now, for me, that was my healing, because I never had a space to just let that go. I didn't necessarily need to talk to someone about it. I just put it back there in the bank of my mind and put it in the sea of forgetfulness. And we do that sometimes when things are trauma ridden. We put it in the back and we push on and we go on until there is a moment where we have a break, and all of these things are compounding like trash. And that's exactly what happened. So I took a day by day type of approach to the words and the situations, and I wrote about them. And writing about them and putting them in words. And listen, I did it with a pen, right? I did it with a pen so that I could not erase what I was saying. I could have scribbled, but I wanted it to be permanent. As I flowed, I wanted it to be permanent and for me to see it as just what it was. And when I got out all of the writing that I could on these situations and these words that came, close to what I felt and how I was, I closed that chapter. And it wasn't that simple. And it wasn't that easy. There were many situations that I had wrote about that had many chapters after. But when I got to the conclusion, I was done. After that, of course, I began to insert positives, because many of the things that I was working through, I equated it with a negative. So I needed to put a positive. So I started to speak affirmations in my life, right? And I started to get to this point where I wanted to be this light that I was beforehand. But this time coming out of it, I wanted nothing but good light. I wanted nothing but happiness. So I formed these words to let myself know that even in some moments I was broken, I'm still good. I am powerful in the way in which I think. I am powerful in the way in which I move. I have a good heart. I have a good soul. I am honest. I prepare before I speak. I love myself because I want to honor myself. I respect myself because respect is what I give to people. So why can't I give it to me? And I went on and on and on, and really looking myself in the eye and the mirror and being real about this. And I know when people hear things like this, it's like, I don't know if I could do it. You can. There is something about sitting with yourself and being honest with yourself. You don't have an audience. You don't have anyone around. It's just you. And there is a compelling breakthrough. And there is this air that you breathe. And there is this force that you reckon with, where you realize, I'm coming out of this, and I'm coming out of this embodying this whole thing. And so that was the end goal for me. I wanted to embody all of the things that I knew that I had within me, and I wanted to come out renewed. And again, this process was a year and a half, 2 years in. And then as I was coming out of the process and really just, I don't know, I'll say this with humility, feeling myself, not on no egotistical type of thing, but feeling and honoring that this space that I'm keeping right now is mine, and I've always wanted to be to this point. Then I started to explore other avenues of my thinking. I started to read more. My prayer life increased abundantly. I saw situations for what it was, and clearly I was able again to exercise my no. And when I said I loved myself, I really loved every facet of myself. I didn't care if I gained 5 pounds, like, yo, your girl is bad. You know what I'm saying? I didn't care if I made a mistake. I gave myself grace, and I said, I'm going to learn from this situation. It was also a point where I just understood that I knew what I knew, and I knew myself, and no one could tell me any different about who I am, what I am, and what I represent. And so when people say, I want you to be your most beautiful self, this is where you reside. This is the place that you should sit in. This is the place you should stand in. This is the place that should feel so very good. Again, it was a time of reflection. I isolated myself from people. I didn't do it purposely, but I think because I was working on myself with this strength to embody myself differently, I realized that certain things didn't align anymore. Certain people didn't align with my purpose. And it wasn't that I was throwing them away. They authentically fell off. I'll say that. The change in you will allow some people to just walk away, and you have to be okay with that. And in the midst of that, I'm not going to put confetti and butterflies and a nice little bow on top of it. It's going to hurt you, because there will be some relationships that are very, very dear to your heart. But what I've learned in this journey as well is that we can't take people with us, even if we tried. They weren't at the point that I was, and many people didn't understand. And I felt in the beginning that I wanted to try to get them to understand with explaining away, but I knew that my new self and their selves couldn't understand, because now we were polar opposites in the way that we seen life, in the way that we were thinking, and in some facets, in some forms, and conversations with many people, I wasn't fun anymore. And I was okay with that. I was okay with not being fun, because I was standing in my truth. I didn't want to be, considered the past person. I wanted to be the new person, and that gave me happiness. When I say honor yourself and see yourself as the most beautiful version of yourself, I mean walk into a path that is authentic to you, and realize that everyone is going to make a judgment at some point in your life, and even theirs. No one is perfect. No one has it all together. Many people won't like the way you show up, and many people won't like the way you are. Many people will try to remind you of the past person that you were to them. But what really matters at the end is who you are to yourself. I don't play by me, and you shouldn't play about you either. And I just wanted to share that with you, because there is something beautiful about being your authentic self and knowing exactly who you are, with no extra details to other people, no extra explanations, and surely no reason for you to show up any differently than the new person that you are now. Okay. All right, so I'm glad that we got that out. I'm hoping that something resonated with you. I'll recap with a few things that helped me, okay? First of all, I did mirror work, which was looking in the mirror and seeing exactly who I was, calling out all of the behaviors and the things that I knew about myself and the things that I wanted to change, and writing them down on my notebook, my private notebook, and working through them day by day. Recalling situations that did not have a resolution or a conclusion, where it replayed in my mind and I was still triggered and hurt by it. Writing until I could not write anymore in order to get it all out. Now, again, for me, from my perspective, writing is my thing. But if it takes you to talk to someone that you trust, do so. It does help. Therapy. I'm all for it. The more that we allow these things to compound on top of us, the higher that it becomes, and the harder it is for us to bring it on down. And then after walking into that space, give yourselves words of affirmation. Give yourself good words, because you walked into a space of negativity, in a sense of pulling out those negative parts of you. Now you have to fulfill it back with something positive. And that is, I am the light. I am beautiful. I can conquer all. I am strong within myself. I am loved. I am honored. I respect every facet of myself and the way that I move. I am me, authentically, beautifully me. And then last, conjure up this self-esteem so high that the part of you that was missing and not fully together stays there, and you honor yourself staying here. That's all I got, okay? So listen, if you are listening to me through Apple, Spotify, or iHeartRadio, thank you so much for being here. I really, 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 really appreciate your presence. YouTube, hey y'all, don't forget to like and subscribe. And please, 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 if you don't mind, I ain't one to beg, but I'm going to ask you, hit that bell so that you can get those notifications so you'll know exactly when these videos are being loaded. I'm trying to do better, y'all. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing this space with me. Thank you for allowing me to be vulnerable. And thank you for just existing. And in the comments, give me some feedback. Let me know if you are on this healing journey, if you have come out of a healing journey. And I want to say this. Let me bring this back. You'll always continue to heal. That it doesn't stop. So, but if you have experienced something of a healing journey and a facet in your life in which you needed to heal from, I want you to tell me about that. So if you are in the beginning of your healing journey, I want to hear about it. If you came out of a particular healing journey, I want to hear about it. And I want to know what it is that you learned about yourself. Okay. All right. So I ain't gonna hold you long. I ain't gonna hold you long. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you vibing with me. And I appreciate you staying. All right. Until next time. Peace.